Good morning. Namaste, namaste.
Today I'm filled with overwhelming feelings of happiness and joy to welcome His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, to our community of learning. I also welcome our guest of honor for today's program, Ms. Nagma Morarji, special guest, Mr. Ranjit Bajaj, Advocate Kushal Sharma, Mr. Shakti Singh, and Mr. Nikhil Kashyap. To all those who are watching this program on their computer and mobile screens throughout the academic and legal community from around the world, I welcome you to this auspicious occasion. At present, the world is passing through very troubled times. On the one hand, this disease called COVID-19 has taken the lives of so many people worldwide, and on the other hand, our lives have come to a standstill in a way hitherto unknown and unimaginable. So many people have lost their lives, their loved ones, and their livelihood. This disease has not only cast a shadow of gloom on the world, it has also reminded us about the fragility of life itself, which we had mistakenly taken for granted. During these unprecedented circumstances, we are forced to turn inwards and explore the hidden resources that lie dormant in our consciousness. Towards this end, we seek the guidance of His Holiness as to how the eternal values of compassion and hope can steer us to redemption. Let us all be fully alert to and accepting of His message to live responsibly for our sake and for those who will follow us on this earth. Friends, we are most fortunate to be in the presence of the great spiritual master. Please join me in welcoming His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, to this forum. Now, I would like to request Your Holiness to address us with the following invocatory verse. As in the dark we grope, when humanity seems going down the slope, wondering how with this pandemic to cope, pray guide us on the path of compassion and hope. Thank you very much.
Thank you. When we face some problem, some difficulties, then as Shantadeva, the 8th century's great sort of scholar of Nalanda, in his writing, Kasa, Juju Kasa,
Bodhisattvacharya Avatar. Bodhisattva. Bodhisattvacharya
Avatara. He mentioned in it, when we face some problem, then we should analyze if that problem can overcome. Then you see, no use, no need to worry. Work hard. If the situation no way to overcome, then no need to worry. Just we can't avoid that. It's very realistic sort of expression. So now we should think whole world. When we face some problem here and there, then are sort of short-sighted and narrow-minded, then that problem appears unbearable, very, very huge one. If, you see, we look from wider perspective, then that problem, although it's a sad thing, but You see, compare the whole sort of holistic view, the small. Now, according the great Indian also masters in ancient time, you see, they mentioned the several galaxies. Even in galaxies, there is beginning, there is end. India's logical sort of explanation, anything due to its cause and beginning, there must be end. It is logical. So the whole universe, whole galaxies, you see, a few, I think at least 1 billion years. And our sun also, you see, there was a beginning, so logically there will be end. So now I think one indication our galaxies, I think our galaxies, you see, towards the, according to the Indian ancient text, you see, the cause of ending whole universe, one occasion, you see, fire, one occasion, water, one occasion, air.
Wind, no. Wind.
Wind. So now, our time, they end with fire. So that's already mentioned in ancient Indian literature. Now I think scientifically there are indications global warming. This is the indication. Now we go towards the fire,
Yes.
ending our whole galaxies with fire. So according to some scientists, you see, they say next few decades, the global warming reach such a level, all the rivers will dry. And then a green world become a desert. So we have to think the more holistic. Then the present human generation's problem is tiny. Like this illness, very sad. In this country also, now number of people getting this illness.
Yes.
Very sad, very sad. But these are, again, you see, Indian literature mentioned, you see, the ending our planet through violence, through war, and then illness, then famine, starvation. It mentioned. So now, these are natures of the process. So therefore, we have to think more holistic, and at least I think our lifetime, no danger. And meanwhile, you see some of these illness, there are some scientists now already investigate certain sort of medicine. I think India's 1,000-year-old is a medical system, Ayurvedic. Also, you see, may have some sort of significant, help. So as I mentioned earlier, you see, we must try to face this illness. Then meantime, you see, even those people who already get some problem, then should not feel too much helplessness. It is part of nature's procedure. So therefore, it is part of nature. Meantime, try our best to use the medication. I think sometimes I feel Tibetan medicine, medical system, very similar Ayurvedic medical system. Then plus Chinese ancient medical system. The Tibetan the medical history, they say in 7th century, 8th century, under the leadership of Tibetan Emperor Chisung Tezen, you see, it takes some kind of semi-international medical conference. The local Tibetan
medical system.
Medical system, and then Ayurvedic from India, then Chinese medical expert, some kind of international meeting about medical system. So modern Tibetan medical system combine Indian Ayurvedic, then Chinese tradition, then local Tibetan tradition, like that. So now see, all facility, they are very easy. Some invite some Chinese, ancient Chinese, some expert about ancient Chinese medical tradition, then Indian Ayurvedic, then some Tibetan, then some modern scientist, Western medical system. So I think worthwhile take some kind of conference on discuss and how to deal this problem. So then we have to, as I mentioned earlier, we try our best to tackle this problem. In spite of that, still overwhelming, then should not feel too much anxiety, too much worry. As I mentioned earlier, whole world eventually disappear. So humanity on this planet eventually disappear. So these are maybe some sort of indication of beginning. So as I mentioned earlier, a certain problem you can't avoid, then no need too much worry. Day-to-day life, year by year, we should be honest, truthful, So while remaining, you see, I think few generations, we should create happy humanity on the basis of Indian thought. Over 2,000 years, India developed ahimsa. Ahimsa related with karuna. So this ancient Indian thought, karuna, ahimsa, now is part of your own tradition. We also is a disciple of Indian tradition, so we also practice these things. So therefore, now we should develop our world more compassionate human society. Because, you see, the Western education, very much sort of materialistic sort of oriented. In West, you see, when some mental problem, emotional problem, they only, you see, recite God, God, God. So that's also useful. The feeling of God keeps their hope. So those people from the West, whenever they find some desperate situation, their first expression is God, God, God. Now here in this country, as I mentioned earlier, in order to develop ahimsa, karuna, and also over 1,000 years, almost 3,000 years, this country already developed, you see, shamatha, meditation, single-pointed meditation, and also vipassana, analytical meditation. So ancient Indian literature, all sort of tradition, the Hindu tradition, Sankhya tradition, and then Jain tradition, and Buddhist tradition, we all, you see, have the tradition, meditation. Through meditation, try to increase our mind, peaceful mind, then karuna, and then analytical meditation, analyze, everything analyze. So now modern time, when we face certain problem, I feel we should use ancient Indian tradition. Usually I sort of mentioning the hygiene of physical, the modern sort of medical system, very good. But hygiene of emotion, only in Indian tradition, hygiene of emotion. In order to carry hygiene of emotion, you should know the whole system of emotion. So that's a unique thing about India's culture. So now world need this ancient Indian knowledge about our mind, about our emotion, then how to tackle this emotion. And India's one, I think, great tradition is secular. Although these information come from religious text, but itself the subject of academic subject or subject of healing our emotion. So therefore, you see, India, according in India's secular way, and consider these are academic subject, not religious subject. Although all these information come from religious text, but we should take these academic subject, like that. So I often, you see, telling, expressing, the India, very rich, in ancient time, very rich knowledge about our mind, about our emotion. As I mentioned earlier, ahimsa, karuna. So India have the opportunity and ability to combine modern education and ancient Indian education or knowledge about inner world. Western modern education about material, external thing. Ancient Indian knowledge about our inner world. So therefore, now time come, our Indian brothers, sisters should pay more attention about 1,000-year-old India's sort of knowledge, now how to tackle our emotion, how to develop peace of mind, like that. So many, as I already mentioned, many spiritual tradition, and then later Buddhism. In Buddhism, you see, Pali tradition and Sanskrit tradition. Sanskrit tradition, after Buddha, eventually Nalanda developed, carrying Sanskrit tradition. Sanskrit tradition is very much emphasis reasoning, not a faith, just a faith. So Buddha himself, you see, told us, "Oh, my follower, monk or nuns should not accept my teaching out of faith, but rather thorough investigation and experiment." So that Buddha's teaching is a very scientific way. He emphasizes on reason, not faith. So therefore, you can see all Nalanda masters like Nagarjuna, Arya Asanga, Chandrakirti, Dharmakirti, Dignac, all these great masters are, say, academician, great practitioner of Buddha Dharma, but they approach Buddha Dharma always reasoning. If they find some contradiction in Buddha's own word, we reject. Like Nagarjuna, this great master of Nalanda, say, some Buddhist teaching we cannot accept because this goes against the reason, like that. So therefore, the Nalanda tradition, as an Indian tradition, Sanskrit, India's ancient language, we have, you see, about 100 volume translated, 100 volume about Buddha's own teaching, translated from Pali, some books from Pali, then rest of many books translated from Sanskrit. Then Nalanda masters, you see, they are sort of commentary about Buddha's teaching, altogether about 200 volumes, altogether 300 volumes. We study many of these books. So ancient Indian sort of knowledge. Now I think time come, as the previous century, Mahatma Gandhiji, ahimsa, non-violence, you see, he practiced within the country, then show the rest of the world India's struggle non-violent way. So South African, like Bishop Tutu and Nelson Mandela, they follow Gandhiji's ahimsa. And then America, also Kasa, Martin Luther King. So many great leader, you see, they very much sort of impressed the Mahatma Gandhiji's non-violent way. So now, today, 21st century, India, I feel India have greater potential to offer whole world about how to take care about our emotion, how to keep peace of mind, not through just prayer, but through analyze. So now you Indian, now firstly, within country, in education field, the education about our mind or emotion, these things, as an academic subject. Then India can, as I mentioned earlier, combine modern education and spiritual, ancient Indian, also the education combined. Then you can offer, you can show rest of the world. I think today's world, too much problem about emotion. So that creates unnecessary problem. So in Western education, only pray, not much sort of education, how to deal with our emotion. So, so India, I feel that you still kept those ancient Indian knowledge. Now, make more, it should make available about this information, how to tackle inner emotion, and how to keep peace of mind. Okay. So I spent over now 60 years.
No.
I stay in this country. When I first came as a refugee, one way sad, but one way India is our original spiritual place. So we feel happy. And then plus this most populated democratic country with the rule of law. India, West India, like Punjabi, and then South India, Karnataka state, or these different language, and then East India, Assam, this area, different language, different sort of writing, script. But India, all these different sort of people, different culture, different language, live happily in union of India. So now this country, I really also appreciate in modern time, India still kept this ancient knowledge, meantime a fully democratic country. So only two nations, most populous nation, China and India, over 7 billion population. India, China, ups and downs too much. But India kept democracy and rule of law. So, the China, great nation, and historically, China, Buddhist country, many Buddhist temples in China. But now, recently, it's too much ups and downs. But human, the emotion. Now today, China, the number of followers of Buddhism, about 400 millions. So now eventually join China, India, more or less same culture. So I think we can make a significant contribution regarding peace of world. Firstly, peace of Asia, then peace in the Middle East, then Africa, Latin America. I always admire the spirit of European Union. And First World War, Second World War, there's too much killing among the European countries. For example, French and German. Historically, they are truly arch enemy. But then, after Second World War, under the leadership of de Gaulle and Adenauer, they now, fighting, killing is no use, outdated. Instead of that, we should develop union of Europe. So since the European Union developed the last few decades, no longer any violence. So I often used to express, like European Union, the Latin America, Africa, too big. You can imagine Northern African Union, East African Union, something like that. So I think we should think some kind of union. So this country already you have union. So therefore, now I usually express, I'm son of India. So I proudly express that. One occasion, few years ago, one occasion, some sort of journalist met, and one journalist used to ask me, why you express you are son of India? Then I mentioned my brain, each part of my brain cell filled by Nalanda thought. That's Indian. And then this physical survived with Indian dal, Indian rice, Indian chapati. So therefore, I am son of India. Really, I feel, my life not easy, lot of difficulties. But during this period, the Indians thought to keep inner strength. So therefore, through my own practice, the ancient Indian thought very, very useful. So now, wherever I go, I always tell ahimsa, ahimsa. That's India's message. With that karuna, like that. So therefore, I consider I'm truly son of India. Then in the reality, now today, I am longest guest of Indian government. So, so now, since the people of India and the government of India from during Rajendra Prasad, Indian president, wonderful. Then Pandit Nehru, and so on. They really look after Tibetan community, Tibetan refugee, and including myself. So therefore, now I really feel very happy. So therefore, now I would say, to
pay back, to pay back your kindness.
As I mentioned earlier, you see, the most part of my life spent in this country, and Indian public, Indian leader, very much sort of take care of me. So now my sort of repay, repay. Yes, I am trying. I dedicated. I determined to revive ancient Indian knowledge according secular way in modern India. The rest of my life, I dedicated to serve to revival of ancient Indian knowledge about our mind, about our emotion. So, so far, when I talk these things, the Indian, also the public, particularly the students, their response, very good, so very hopeful. So now you also, so this movement, one single person, only two hands. So I need more, more people, you see, work or same line. Okay, now some questions.
Morning, Your Holiness. We have 6 questions here.
Yes.
And the first question is from Miss Dinesh Bhatia. She's a law student from Delhi University. Dinesh Bhatia, please.
Good morning, Your Holiness. My question is, how being spiritual is different from being religious? Can we both be religious and spiritual at the same time? Can an atheist be spiritual too? Thank you.
Atheist.
Now all religion, all major religious tradition, you see, inspire different philosophy. Some say, like Christianity or many other religion, Islam or Judaism, you see, believe God as a creator. Then Jainism, Buddhism, you see, no creator. But the essence of Christian practitioner is loving kindness and forgiveness, tolerance, self-discipline. So similarly, non-theistic religious tradition, including Buddhism, also, you see, main practice is loving kindness, forgiveness, tolerance. So all those religious tradition, you see, inspired different philosophy, different concept, but all carry same message of love, no differences. So on that base, we can develop religious harmony. I have number of friends, some Christians, some Jews, some Muslim, they are very, very sincere practitioner of compassion. Wonderful. In the philosophical field, there are differences. That's even Buddhism. Within Buddhism, firstly, non-Buddhists and Buddhists now, India, non-Buddhists, they believe Atma. Buddhists, Anatma, differences. Within Buddhism, the Chidaman, the Vivashek, Sodantik, Chidamantra, and Madhyamika, 4 different schools of thought. Within Madhyamika, Prasangika, and then Kasa,
Svatantrika.
Sodantika. So there are differences in the philosophical field because, you see, human being, different mental disposition. Therefore, we need different way of approach to practice compassion, loving kindness. So to some people, the theistic religion, such as Christian, wonderful. You see, we all created by God. So the God's sort of the loving kindness to us, something like father take care about children, their children, or father's children. Like God, like Father, all human being, all whole world or universe created by God. Then, according to Christian tradition, Jesus Christ, like our Father. So we all children of that same Father. So that very powerful sort of also the teaching. Similarly, Muslim, Judaism, and others of tradition, all who believe God is the same sort of also the philosophical view. Wonderful.
Thank you, Your Holiness.
Ka.
For our second question,
Ka.
I'd like to invite Ms. Ashlesha Rajak. She's a judge in the Rajasthan judiciary. Ashlesha, please.
Nice to meet you. Oh, that we call Ka. Oh. You know, because very reason, there are so many different philosophy, you see, try to reduce our wrong view. Within Buddhism, as I already mentioned, you see, things are... Yes, okay. Question, yes, your question.
Ashlesha, please unmute and ask your question.
Unmute.
Sound?
My question is, how can one see things objectively and not with own preconceived notions? Thank you.
Kasa.
수술로지가 원기 유통하면 봐. 디 유통해야 돼. 뭐 베네수도 여버지 통해야 돼. 다시 가열세죠. 로지가 원기입니다.
Now, according now quantum physics, you see, they already sort of realize, already mentioned, there is differences, appearance and reality. Now, at least a material thing, so far, so quantum physics not much deal with mind, external thing. So, according to quantum physics, external things appears, it exists by, or say, as appears. Things, you see, exist objectively. But now quantum physicists say, you see, there is big differences, appearance and reality. Appearance objectively exists, but investigate, nothing we can find as appears. So then quantum physicists, some say that ultimately all are mental creation. Nothing exists objectively. So that's quite similar. The India's ancient philosophical view, and particularly Buddhism, you say nothing exists as appears. So now they appear from things exist by objectively. That appearance is wrong. So if we believe things exist as appears, that's ignorance. It's quite clear. The things objectively exist, then grasping, or good or bad, so then too much sorrow, the emotion, grasping, or this is good, this is bad, all you see from objectively exist. Then now some philosopher or some scientist, now they say nothing exists objectively. So if we go deeper level, or mental creation, there's some scientists say that. That's exactly the ancient Indian thought. Usually, as I mentioned earlier, within Buddhism, like a Madhyamika philosophy, nothing exists as appears. Or if we investigate, nothing exists by itself. Almost to say mental creation. So particularly Chitta Mantra, another Buddhist school of thought, they say all are mental creation. Nothing objectively exists. So these reduce our sort of negative emotion. Oh, this is good, too much attachment. This is bad, too much sort of negative attitude. Now these reduce. Now even nowadays, some student who study about quantum physics, now some express when they more faith about quantum physics, nothing exists by objectively. So their sort of feeling of grasping reduce. So the grasping objectively exists. That is the basis, according Indian philosophers or Indian psychologists, according to their view. You see, the very basis of our anger, attachment, all these, you see, based on the feeling of grasping objectively exist. So like, as I mentioned earlier, Madhyamika philosophy, nothing exists as appears. That direct sort of antidote, or sort of one serious ignorance, things are there, and then attachment, or then anger, then fear. Like that. So the Buddhists we call shunyata, concept of shunyata. The reason why things not exist as appears objectively. The reality, everything every existence is on the nature of interdependency, dependent. Nothing independently exists. So that we call patit samubandha. Everything interdependent. Even Buddha, if we investigate, where is Buddha? Nothing. Whether Buddha, also described as a Buddha, his body, his mind, his voice, no. Then beside his body, his mind, his voice, where is Buddha? No, nothing. So all these, for example, here, you one human sister, I'm one human brother. Beside this body, speech or voice and mind, where is I? Where is self? Do you find self beside your body and mind? Where is your self? Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness. We have the third question from Dr. V.S. Mishra. He's a professor at the Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. Professor, please.
Good morning, Your Holiness. My question is, if joy and suffering is a creation of what is perceived by the five senses, then what can put humans on the path of equanimity? Thank you.
Karsa, 공연 오물 나면 전화로 르 조다고 권에 뒤두고 좋아하는 겨워이나 저 땅염로 선내버 지다. All these, of course, we should accept there is good and there is bad. But you see, too much grasping, or that causing emotion. Just also recognize, yes, there are good things, there are bad things. Our sort of way of our sort of looking everything, good and bad, everything as sort of appear objectively exist. You see, that become basis of all our emotions. So the antidote of that kind of emotion, we should know the ultimate reality of things. So there is big differences, appearance and reality. All destructive emotion based on appearance. So the antidote of that, they realize the ultimate reality, nothing there. So that's the, as I already mentioned, all the negative emotion, you see, based on appearance, things independently exist there, and then grasping, this is good, this is bad. Now, the antidote of that, realize nothing exists as appears. Then the Madhyamika philosophy say that nothing objectively exists. All chakwa, jiten chakwa ko na
by way of conventions.
The one very clear also the expression by Chandrakirti. Correct. Dao chakwa. Chandrakirti. 그래다 대남 신대 남자 세배 남도 유보 모인신 텔레 현도 유보 직전 작별관의 유보인스.
So Master Chandrakirti says in his Madhyamaka Avatara that when you do analysis of things, like doing an analysis of a chariot, in 7 ways. You'll not find anything that you can pinpoint as being the chariot, for example. And so how do things then exist if you're not able to find through analysis? And then he says that things are renowned, exist by way of being renowned in the worldly convention.
If things exist as appears, then the Arya Deve, any kasa. 다가다 박배 냠샤 고부 지규타와. 그래도 박배 냠샤기 처음에 인루 가라 이면 세고 봐. 에고 그게 랑생이 주고시 여배이나 아니 박배 냠샤시 사이드서는 많이 그도를 아니 이거 꼭 가서 그게 다 뭐로 그게 랑문에 주고지나 박배 냠샤기 가면 타 강도에 못 주고시 세인 거 봐. 아니 박배 냠샤 고부 지규타와. 그래서 랑게 생이 땡주는 될고 5분 지구 7 동니 5분 지구 요요는 전혀짐이 드신 거예요. 엔티 이슈고데 관심 5분보다 남자는 뒤에 다제 뭘 추루도 나님이 디시지든지 타냐잖아 나버세면서 디 쉬우지 서부르샤 내리 인자스 검제고 뒤털어.
And then Master Chandrakirti also says in the Madhyamaka Avatara that if things were to have any kind of objective, independent existence in and of themselves, then there would be some logical fallacies that you would have to face. And he points out one of them is that someone who is able to see the reality as it is, because the person is doing this deeper analysis into how things exist, it must be found by his cognition. And whereas that's not the case. And then, therefore, if things were to have any objective independent existence, it would mean that it would be tantamount to say that this perception of that Arya being who has actually seen the reality as it is destroying the things. Because he's actually not able to find the things having any independent objective existence, which is what he should find, having found the reality of the things as it is. And therefore, the Arya being's perception or cognition would be a destroyer, a cause for destruction of the things and entities. And that's one logical fallacy that he points out. And then the other one that he points out is that the conventional reality of things, the conventional truth would be able to withstand the ultimate analysis into how things exist. And that's also not the case.
So now here, I also use quantum physics when I meditate about shunyata. Beside Madhyamika Mulakarika, you see, their sort of explain, their sort of point, I always meditate on it, and then also use quantum physics. So one Indian scholar, Rajaramana. You see, he once told me, quantum physics in the West, something new. In this country, over 2,500 years already developed quantum physics. Then he recites few verses of Nagarjuna. So nothing exists as appears. So that is the antidote of our negative emotion. Negative emotion creates restless our mind. So all destructive emotion based on also the unrealistic sort of emotion, right? So the philosophy or theory, emptiness, very useful. I daily, as soon as I wake up, I'm thinking nothing exists as appears. Then combine with altruism, the rest of the sentient being who suffer due to destructive emotion. Once we realize that, the karuna automatically come. So then you get the determination. I must serve as much as I can to clear
To clear
away all these negative emotion. So now these, although come from Buddhist text, but we should use this as a sort of the realistic attitude. Whether non-believer or non-Buddhist, your faith is personal matter. But then these philosophy, theory, is the trying to pinpoint the reality. So as I mentioned earlier, India's was a great, because of the great thing, secular. Now, many scientists also now showing interest about, you see, Nalendra masters, also the thinking like that. Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness. And for the fourth question, I would like to invite Mr. Vijay Pandey, the Vice Principal of Chapra Central School, Saran, Bihar. Vijay, sir, please.
Namaste, His Holiness. And the question is how to have mental peace and why so many people are depressed nowadays and how to get rid of it. And sir, Your Holiness, this question is from Vijay Pandey, sir, Vice Principal of Chapra Central School. And that is related to your friend J.P. Narayan, Jayaprakash Narayan, who was your friend and who was supporter of Tibetan people. And I'm taking this question on his behalf because of network issue. He can't himself take this question.
When you mentioned the name Jayaprakash Narayan, he's a great supporter and great friend of mine. Wonderful people. Now, as we already sort of discussed, the destroyer of inner peace, not external weapon, external enemy, but your own destructive emotion. Actually, Shantadeva mentioned your enemy is best teacher of your spiritual practice. Without enemy, there is with friend, with Buddha, no basis of practice of patience, tolerance. So tolerance and patience practice only develop when we met enemy or person who criticize you. Then that's the opportunity to practice patience, tolerance. So enemy is your best teacher. It mentioned that. So I think we can, I can say all negative emotion very narrow-minded and one-sided. Like compassion or tolerance, these practice based on reason. So all negative emotion, no sound basis, just ignorance, short-sighted. All the positive emotion based on reason. So that really give us real hope. All negative emotion, no matter how powerful, but actually based on wrong view and ignorance. Like compassion, karuna, ahimsa, these based on reason. So anything which based on reason, we can meditate, and analytical meditation, vipassana, so we can increase. Anger, fear, just to come. We cannot meditate on anger. We cannot meditate on fear. These are just the emotion based on appearances, short-sighted, like that. Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness.
Your Holiness, we have the 5 questions here. And for the question, Professor, sir, please.
Your Holiness, my question to you is, according to your learning in life, like how do you think we should transfer our present education system?
Oh, that's my main concern. So-called modern education. For example, this country is introduced by Britisher. So the modern education always oriented about material value, not much talk about our emotion, about our inner world. So now education, modern education, should, at least in this country, firstly, this country, in education field, should include the education about our mind, about our emotion, then how to deal this emotion. We should take as a part of education, not religion. So only this country, you see, can combine ancient in your knowledge, how to deal emotion, these things, as an academic subject. With that, modern education. Now I often, you see, mentioning modern education about, you see, something like kasa,
Hygiene. Physical hygiene.
The modern education only, you see, taking care about physical hygiene or physical health. That's not sufficient. Now, ancient Indian knowledge about karuna, ahimsa, these is related with our emotion. So I usually call hygiene of emotion. That modern education, that lacking. Now, India, you see, should combine modern education, very useful about science, including science and technology, these things, very useful. With that, how to develop inner peace. And in order to inner peace, not through prayer, not through faith. Some people, through faith, very useful, wonderful. But here, you see, we can analyze about the very nature of emotion. Then those emotions, when we investigate, no proper basis, then automatically reduce. So those emotions with reasons, the thinking more, and meditate, and analyze, analytical meditation, then it increases. So this country, I think, real opportunity to combine ancient Indian knowledge and modern education, combine these things. Okay.
Your Holiness, we have the last and final question. And for that, I would like to invite Mr. Ranjit Bajaj of Minerva Academy. Sir, please.
Namaste, Your Holiness. It's a pleasure to meet you. My question is, us Indians, as humans, individuals to make life better for the coming generations as a whole?
Mainly education. I feel education. The existing so-called modern education is mainly concerned about physical world. That's not sufficient. Now, India's 1,000-year-old knowledge how to tackle our emotion, that taking care about our inner world. Now, firstly, India have the opportunity and ability to combine modern education and ancient Indian education about emotion, about mind. That, firstly, Indian universities eventually, I think, should create certain class, you see, without a religion, simply about our emotion, about our mind, these and modern education combination. Yeah, not the temple or some sort of
For worshipping.
some worship,
Place of worship.
in education, secular education field, you see, should introduce about our inner world, how to develop inner peace as a part of education, not as a religion, not talking God, not talking next life, not talking Buddha, simply as a sort of the academic subject. Other country, you see, no sort of opportunity, no ability, because not much knowledge. Now, this country already have a fuller knowledge about our inner world. So now this, not in temple, in classroom, should study as an academic subject. I feel that. Okay. I think these things.
Thank you so much.
These things, I think, like some of your universities, start some sort of program as an experiment. And after this illness problem disappear, I will come and talk, discuss. Okay. Then actually, you see, these no other alternative. There are problem. Humanity, you see, a lot of problem, our own creation. So nobody want a problem, but many problem, our own creation. So young children, I think not much sort of also the because of the worry. I think all these human created problem, not by the children. Children, very honest, and very much appreciate their mother, their families' affection. So children themselves always feel much happier, smile, play. then now scientists also, some scientists say, basic human nature, since we are social animal, any social animal, the sense of concern of your own community always there. So sense of concern of your community is nature, biological factor. Now problem, when we join our education, not much talk, these things. Then when I think textbook and teachers, you see, mention some the heroes. So those heroes actually, you see, too much attachment, oneself, self-centered, then fight, kill. So children, very when they are young, as a social animal, very kind. And we always look mother's kindness. Then once we join education, then not much talk about these things. Only, you see, the material sort of life, and then a materialistic life, and then also, you see, mentioning our past heroes. Mostly heroes are killer. So I think existing education, I think, is spoiling basic nature, a more compassionate nature as a social animal. That eventually neglected. The other, our concept, too much, too strong, because of the too much emphasis, we and they. So, as I often used to mentioning, the existing education system now should include education about our inner peace, and in that automatically come the subject of karuna, subject of ahimsa automatically come. So firstly, as I mentioned earlier, see, in this country, some university or some school should introduce such sort of lesson. Then eventually show rest of the world through education how to develop peace of mind. And that ultimately, through that way of education, peaceful community, peaceful world, then eventually we really can materialize a demilitarized world. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Holiness, from every one of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Holiness.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Holiness.
Bharat Ratna, Bharat Ratna.